Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today I'm going to be taking a look at this little guy right here, Black and White. It is a game that is set in another world, another realm, where two armies are coming together for battle after 10 years of peace, and they're meeting on the battlefield of a no man's land, and it's been neglected and so forth, and they're going to be fighting over different forts and different things that are left over, places of advantage and that type of thing. So it's basically a two-player game, war-ish kind of game where you have your army going against somebody else's army, and let's see how it turns out. You have the opportunity to build your armies. You are each given 20 points, and the people in your army are given different kinds of point values, as you can see in this column right here. This unit, which is a special kind of artillery unit, costs 2 points to put into their army, while this heavy cavalry costs 5 points to put into the army. So you build your army based on these point values, and you have 20 points that you can put into your thing. Your rule book also gives you some pre-constructed army that you can use as well, so there is that. The game also comes with a number of cheat sheets that you can use during the game, and at first glance you might be saying, holy iconography, Batman, and that is true, but this is the kind of iconography that I do not have a problem with, because it explains exactly what it does without the use of words. For example, an infantry unit can move 0 to 1 spaces and then attack, or he do a melee attack, or he can do 0 to 1 spaces and then perform a ranged attack at two hexes away, or he can move 2 and then not attack melee or ranged. Is a terrain cheat sheet, and very much the same. Swamps, artillery and cavalry cannot move in. Streams, artillery and infantry can move in but must stop, and then on their next turn they can move out. Rivers are impassable. Forts, block line of sight. Artillery and cavalry cannot go in. They provide the troops that are there with a +2 defense, and they do not have to retreat. Now, each army does have also a set of cards, which gives a pictorial representation of the unit. For example, this is an infantry unit, one of these special kinds. They're a very strong unit. As you can see, they start with 4 hit points instead of just 2 hit points like the rank and file guys that are here. But the kind of infantry unit they are, the class of infantry unit they are, their specific statistics. In other words, they don't have any ranged ability, but they're pretty good at fighting in melee combat. They are very loyal, and they cost 3 to put in, and they have a 3 defense. Then down at the bottom, they can make a charge at 1 space away, which is pretty cool, because usually charging is reserved for cavalry units. And then if they are the subject of a ranged attack, their defense goes down by 1. So these guys are melee specialists, and they're really good at it, but if you shoot at them from far away, they're easy to hit. Now, the scenario will also tell you not only what the setup of the board is going to be, but also the victory conditions. Since this is just a tutorial scenario, the only thing we really have to do is get 10 victory points. And we get victory points by knocking out the other player's army units, and these are the number of points that we get from knocking out that kind of unit. Now, on your turn, you have 3 actions with which to command your troops. Now, when you command your troops, you can tell one unit to do something, or if you have a number of different units that are the same kind of unit, I can also activate them as a squad. And if I do that, they can move together, but then if they get into an attack, only one of them can actually deal damage. So, an opening move, let's say that white is going first, we will actually just move 2. Then I'm going to activate a second, and we're going to take these guys here and move them 2. All right, as a squad. Then the third action, we will take and move these guys 1, 2. Since the White Army was so kind to march up within range of our artillery, I think we'll go ahead and take advantage of that. I would first have to roll to see if I can aim correctly. So the first thing that there's been more 44 coming out. The first thing that artillery has to do here is see if they can hit there. So they roll a die, and for 2 spaces away, they would have to roll a 2 to 6 in order to effectively aim here. 3 spaces away, it would be 4 to 6, and then 4 spaces away, it would have to be a 6. So I roll, and I'm aiming here. I rolled a 3, so I didn't successfully aim on this turn, but I did aim, so an aim marker gets put in there. Now at a future turn, I can try and shoot there again, and if it works, this will give me a +1. My second unit is going to be this artillery, and this is a special artillery unit which allows me to shoot either smoke or incendiary rounds. So I'm going to aim first, and that's a 5. So that would have worked here, but not here. But another aim gets put there, and that's that. And for our third turn, we're going to have our cavalry march up and go 1, 2, and that is my light cavalry, which does have a ranged ability. If you see there up at the top, the little handgun with a 3 underneath it. So we are going to take a shot at, as long as there is line of sight. Streams do not block line of sight, and neither do swamps. These guys, since they are my light cavalry, have the ability to walk through marshes. So that's why I'm able to do that. Normally, cavalry cannot go into the swamps or marshes. We're going to roll. First of all, attacking at ranged has to be 2 spaces away. If you are adjacent, you have to use melee range. So our roll was a 4 and a 2. Now in black and white, in order to determine if you hit or not, you take the lower number and subtract it from the higher number. So 4 minus 2 is 2, and then we add 2 to the 3 ability of our ranged ability of our unit. So that means it is a 5. So then we targeted this unit, which has a defense of 4. My attack was a 5. It's higher than, it's equal to or higher than the defense value. I scored a hit, which would mean that this would be rotated down 1 hit. So they started with 3 hit points, and now they have only 2. Now, when that hit occurs, that unit can retreat if it wants to, but if it doesn't want to retreat, it has to roll a loyalty check with 2 dice, and it has to roll equal to or less than 8. All right, so they rolled a 9, which means they must now retreat back 1 space. Attack ability of 3, so that is 6 to the light cavs 3. That is a hit. And now we don't want to retreat. We want to try to stay there. And we rolled a 4, so we do not have to retreat. So we will counterattack. And that counterattack is a 3 plus 2, so it's a 5 to their defense of 4. It rotates down. Now, normally, if he had been the original attacker, I would have to make a roll to see if I retreat or not. But because he attacked and that was a counterattack, it cannot force anyone to retreat. Counterattacks never force retreats. Okay, so that is the end of that. And now we're going to try to open up a little bit. Again, artillery is going to be my first. This is my special guy. He's going to try to lay some fire down on these wayward soldiers right here. So he is going to be 2, 3 spaces away. He has to roll a 4, 5, or 6 in order to aim. And that is a 4, so it does hit. Okay, so what would happen here is a burning token, since I successfully aimed at this hex. A burning token gets placed there. Any enemy units that are on that have to pass a command check. Now, they were not forced to retreat, so they can counterattack. So we will go ahead and counterattack. That is a 5. That is a very good roll. Plus, anytime a 7 is rolled, it is an automatic hit. It's called a critical success, and you automatically score a hit on that person. So they go ahead and rotate down 1. Now, the opposite of this is rolling doubles. If you ever roll doubles, it's considered a critical failure because you're taking 1 and subtracting it from the other, which is a 0. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. Whenever you roll a 7, critical success, automatic success, no matter what the combination is. If it's a 5 and a 2, same thing. If it is a 4 and a 3, same thing. All right, but doubles are always misses. Each unit does exert an area of influence in all of the hexes around his hex. So if this unit wanted to, well, let's say this. If this unit right here wanted to move here and then here, in order to do that, they would have to pass a command check. And if they passed, they would be able to go ahead and continue going. But if they failed, they would have to stay there in that area of influence, but then they would be able to attack that unit if they wanted to. So this area of influence does make the board a little bit more tight because you can't just willy-nilly walk right past an enemy unit. So there are 3 commanders for the White Army, and then there are also 3 commanders for the Black Army as well. And so this is a way that actually gives a little bit more oomph to the game, I guess you could say, a little bit more tactical choices that can be made during the course of your turn. So that is Black and White. It's actually a pretty neat little game. It's not incredibly captivating. The artwork was very good. It was different. It had kind of it was a cross between the Napoleonic Wars and maybe a little bit of a Amazonian, Roman something in there. It was a really strange theme, but the artwork was popping. It was really good. The board has decent artwork. It is aesthetic to look at. It's neat. It's organized, so to speak. The point tracks were a versatile use because you can use them for tracking rounds or you can use them for tracking points, and what scenario you're playing will dictate what they're used for, and it was very clear on that. The rule book was kind of rough to get through. Took a little bit of digging because the layout of the rule book was kind of wonky in some places, but it was all the information that was necessary to play the game and to play the game well was there. The game plays very similarly to something like well, the blocks, they send some throwbacks to Command and Colors Ancients, that kind of battle system. While the battlefield is not split up into 3 different areas and the battling is not card driven, it still gave me that same feel of a memoir or a Command and Colors Ancients or a Battle Cry. Now the combat is something that I thought was interestingly strange, and the way I say that is because I've never personally played a game where you roll 2 dice, subtract 1 from the other, then use that and add it to your your fighting type ability, whether it's melee or ranged combat. Never really seen that happen that I can recall, at least. So it was interesting, but it was a little it was a little fidgety, I think would be the best word for it. It wasn't as straightforward as, okay, your defense is that, I need to roll this. There was a little bit more math involved in it, so it was different, which is cool, but I don't think it was better than some of the other combat systems that are out there. But different is always interesting. Artillery can be very effective in this game. Infantry, not so much so, especially your rank and file guys that are the weakest units in your army. Expect them to get run over pretty easily. Cavalry wasn't as powerful as I have seen them be in other kinds of games that focus around this time period of warfare. I did like how some of the infantry units had special abilities against cavalry units. That was pretty cool. But at the same time, it was there was only like a couple of units that do that. So that was neither here nor there. Overall, I think this is a neat little game. It's actually priced at about $35.99 on Cool Stuff right now. They have it for pre-order. So for 36 bucks, this very well could be worth a foray into a very light, casual, tactical combat simulation game. It might be worth it, especially if you don't want to shell out the cash for something like Memoir and a couple expansions that can get pretty pricey pretty quick. So while it's not going to come anywhere close to replacing Memoir 44 for me, I think that there is some merit to having this. It is a little bit lighter, albeit a little bit on the wonky side every once in a while, but I'm going to go with a 1 thumb up for Black and White because it's a neat little game, but it's going to take some oomph to stay in the fight. So that's me. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.